Now, coming off the previous training video, you'll notice that this pivot table is a bit different. I tweaked it because I want to analyze the data in a different way. In any case, there it is. Now, when I click outside of the pivot table, the field list over to the right disappears. When I select a cell within it, it reappears. That is, unless I come over here and close out of it, then you're like, uh-oh, how do I bring it back? Come up here and click on the Analyze tab, go to the Show Group, and there it is, Field List, and it's back. Now, there are a few things that you can do to customize your pivot table that I think you may find helpful. In any case, here they are. One thing you can do is that you can group your labels together. That is, if they're groupable. In other words, let's say that I want to go ahead and index my labels here, all the M's under the letter M, F's, and so on. To group my labels, go ahead and you can control-click each label. Let me try again. Control-click each label, and then come up here on the Analyze tab to the group, and click on Group Selection, and there you go, it grouped all the M's together. Or, let me hit Undo. You can click and drag from one label down to the next. If I had 5 labels, I'd select all 5 of them, and then you can go ahead and group. It does the same thing, there you go. A couple things happened. Well, first of all, it grouped all the M's together that I wanted, but also it grouped all the others. Because by default, Excel doesn't allow you to just group one set of labels. It's all or nothing. So what did it do with the other labels? It grouped them. Under what name? By the same name as the row name. So the group name for family campers is family campers and all weather sports and so on. The other thing is that, notice over here in the field list, that the rows we have company and company 2. Where did company 2 come from? Well, the row labels, the default name for that field is company. You can see it's right there. So when we added a group name, it just copied or duplicated that. Because remember, it's all or nothing, so it just said fine. Since you didn't want to group these others, I'll just go ahead and copy the company name and just group the same name there. In any case, you can come over here and rename that field by clicking on the drop-down arrow for company 2 and clicking on field settings and saying, oh, this is my group or my index, whatever makes sense to you, and click OK or hit enter. And you can see it up here, index. You can uncheck it to remove it, check it to add it. Okay, once you add it, it goes down at the bottom of the hierarchical structure, so let me click and drag it up. So it's up at the top, so we're back to where we started here. So there's the name. Now I want to go ahead and index it and say, okay, all weather, you're under the A's. Let's see, family campers begins with F, under the F's. Go ahead and select the group name, come up here in the formula bar, and then type in A, hit enter, and family campers, F, enter, group 1, generic, I know, M, and then scouting sports, S, hit enter, there you go. Another thing you can do is you can do some custom calculations. You can do it for the group or separately. I'll show you both ways. Now, if you do it for the group, there is a disclaimer on how it calculates, and let me show you. If you go ahead and right-click on a group label, a group name, and you go down to field settings and you say, okay, for this group, the custom name versus the source name, its original name, I want to go ahead and say, let's do the count for that group. It's not going to do it for the actual group within it, but for the entire company name or all weather sports. See if this makes sense. There's count, click okie dokie, and it counts up 13 cells that contain numbers. That doesn't make sense because I only count 3. It's not counting what you see here, it's counting what's back in the database here for all weather sports. So it counts up all those cells that contain numbers here, which is all 13, and that's what it says down below, 13, and that's what we get over here, 13. So keep that in mind if you want to do some custom calculations as far as the groups go. In any case, let me go ahead and right-click to Field Settings, and let's say None, and click Okie dokie. And then if you want to go ahead, in this example, we've got the quantity. If we multiply it by the price, we'd get the total, right? I mean, I have the total there. Let me go ahead and add the price. Okay, so multiply the quantity times the price, we get the total. We can add the total, it's already there. But if you don't have it, and it's not in your worksheet here, in other words, to bring over as a choice, then you can go ahead and insert a custom calculation that will multiply both those fields. You can do that by coming up here, clicking on the Analyze tab, going to the Calculations group, clicking on Field Items and Sets, going to Calculated Field, and you can name that field whatever you want. We can call it, let's delete it, Total, and then down below we can do the price each, double click on it, And then the asterisk is multiplied by quantity, double click and click okie dokie. And then it gives me a warning. It says we can't do this because you have another field that's called total. Let me click and drag. Is it over here? Yes. Okay. We'll call it totals. And then go ahead and click okie dokie, and there we go. So let's see if it checks out. What's 4 times 19? Is that 76? Well, let's do equals 4 times 19, enter. Hey, it checks out. Let me go ahead and select the cell so we can bring up our field list. Now, if you want to add subtotals to your groups or get the grand total if you don't have it, or hide the grand total, then come up here and click on the Design tab, go to the Layout group, and there you go, Subtotals. Do you want them at the bottom of the group or at the top? Let's do the bottom. Scroll down. There's the total for Mirror Lake Sports, 58, and then 270. The total for that is 328. Okay, checks out. Let's go ahead and click on it to not show it. And then the grand totals, let me scroll down. I've got them for the column here, and that's one of the options. You can have it for columns only or for rows, or you can go ahead and turn it off and it disappears if you don't want to show them. And don't forget your styles. If you want to go ahead and change it from the default style when you inserted the pivot table, come up here on the Design tab, there you go, expand it, and you can hover over it to get a preview of it and also see the name of it. This one's Pivot Style Light 24. That's okay. Let's go ahead and choose something else. Ooh, I like that one. And then if you want to go ahead and print this off, there are a few things you can do to set it up for printing or to make it look good when it comes out on the printer here. And that is, let me go ahead and scroll up. You can come up here on the Design tab to the Layout group. If you want to give it some space in between the items, click on the blank rows drop-down arrow to insert blank line after each item. Select it, and it gives us some buffer there, makes it not so tight. Also, when it comes to the report filter, do we need to see that here, the salesperson and the date? Because if we don't, then we can go ahead and click and drag and move them off to remove them, or click on the drop-down arrow to remove. And that way it doesn't come out on the printer. I mean, what's the point if they can't see what it's being filtered there? And then finally, what about that field header, row labels? What does that mean? We can remove that if we want by clicking on the Analyze tab, going to the Show group, and deselecting field headers, and it disappears. Now we're ready for print. File, Backstage to print. What you see here is what's coming out of the printer. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.